The Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 wasn't just about toppling a czar, it was about erasing the old world, and at its heart stood the Russian Orthodox Church. Lenin saw religion as a rival to the state's authority, promising a kingdom beyond this life and distracting from the communist vision. The Soviets declared church and state separate, but this was no liberation, it was open war. Churches were seized, repurposed, or left to decay. The soul of the nation was under attack. Propaganda painted priests as greedy frauds, and schools taught atheism as progress. Soviet holidays replaced religious ones, aiming to forge a new Soviet citizen loyal only to the party. Faith was branded as sickness, not a right. Priests, monks, and nuns were arrested, executed, or sent to the gulag. Serving God was now treason. The campaign shattered the church's power, driving worship underground and making the party the only authority. Religious practice became a secret act of defiance, always under threat. The destruction of the church wasn't collateral damage, it was a core goal. The state sought to replace faith with its own dogma, making itself the sole source of meaning and salvation. Stalin's war on religion shifted when Nazi Germany invaded in 1941. Suddenly, he needed the church to rally the nation, framing the war as a sacred cause. In 1943, Stalin summoned the battered Orthodox hierarchy, offering limited revival in exchange for total loyalty. The church could reopen some parishes and elect a patriarch, but only as a tool of the state. The Council for Russian Orthodox Church Affairs, run by the KGB, controlled every aspect of church life. Priests became informants, sermons were monitored, and the confessional was weaponized. Abroad, church leaders denied persecution, promoting a false image of religious tolerance. This arrangement split the Orthodox world, the official church, compromised but visible, and the underground church, defiant and secret. For many, true faith now meant resisting the state's control. The church survived, but only by becoming an arm of the regime. This model of co-optation endured, shaping church-state relations for generations. The legacy survival through submission, not resistance. The church's soul was traded for its survival. Putin inherited a nation adrift, and he found unity in reviving the Orthodox Church as a symbol of Russian identity. The church gained prestige and influence, while the state gained spiritual legitimacy. Today's control is less violent, but just as effective. Bureaucracy is the new weapon. The 1997 law on religion created a hierarchy, privileging orthodoxy and a few others, while marginalizing the rest. Minorities face endless paperwork and arbitrary denials, making them easy targets for state pressure. State media glorifies the Orthodox Church and Patriarch Kirill, who echoes Kremlin narratives. Minority faiths are painted as foreign threats, Jehovah's Witnesses are banned, evangelicals labeled as spies. Anti-extremism laws, like the Yarovaya laws, criminalize sharing faith outside church walls. Even private Bible studies can lead to arrest. Fear and suspicion drive non-Orthodox believers underground, echoing Soviet times. The state doesn't need to destroy churches anymore, it can simply legislate them out of existence. Faith is allowed, but only on the state's terms. The church is now the state's spiritual armor, not its conscience. For religious minorities, post-Soviet Russia offered brief hope, quickly replaced by growing repression. Evangelicals and Baptists, seen as Western intruders, face raids, arrests, and constant suspicion. The Catholic Church, tied to Poland and the West, is tolerated but stifled. Permits are denied, visas withheld, growth blocked. The message, you may exist, but you will not thrive. Russia's Jewish community faces a complex reality. Official tolerance for loyal leaders, but anti-Semitic tropes still surface in politics and media. The war in Ukraine has fueled new accusations and old prejudices. Persecution is often slow and bureaucratic. Fire inspections close Protestant churches. Visa denials cripple Catholic parishes. Jewish organizations are shuttered. These are not random acts. They are deliberate tactics to enforce conformity. The state defines good believers as loyal and subservient, bad ones as independent or foreign. Faith that looks beyond Russia's borders is suspect. The state's grip is subtle but relentless. For minorities, survival means constant vigilance. True religious freedom remains out of reach. The Kremlin's approach to Islam is region-specific and deeply pragmatic. In Tatarstan, moderate Islam is allowed to flourish as a traditional faith. In Chechnya, after brutal wars, Putin empowered Ramzan Kadyrov to rule with near-total autonomy in exchange for loyalty. Kadyrov enforces a state-approved Islam, building grand mosques and imposing conservative codes. This co-opts religious identity, replacing separatist fervor with loyalty to Moscow. Dissent is crushed. Non-traditional Muslims are labeled extremists, facing abduction or worse. The state draws a line. Good Islam is loyal, bad Islam is a threat. In Dagestan, the pattern repeats. State-approved Islam is promoted, independent movements are suppressed. The strategy: allow visible faith, but only under strict control. The Kremlin tolerates conservatism as long as it guarantees stability and obedience. Religion is a tool of imperial management, not a source of freedom. Russia's invasion of Ukraine exposed its harshest religious policies. In occupied territories, Moscow imposed its model of religious control, targeting independent Ukrainian churches as threats to its rule. The Orthodox Church of Ukraine, newly independent from Moscow, was a prime target. Its churches seized, clergy threatened, or worse. Only Moscow-aligned orthodoxy was tolerated. Protestant communities, seen as Western agents, faced raids, violence, and closure. Pastors disappeared. Prayer houses were destroyed. Catholics, symbols of Ukraine's European identity, were harassed and restricted. The occupation turned faith into a battleground. Loyalty to Moscow meant survival. Independence meant persecution. Religion became another front in the war for control. The Kremlin's message, religious freedom is for the obedient and can be revoked at will. The war amplified the state's broader strategy. Faith is allowed only if it serves the regime. In Ukraine, the cost of spiritual independence is higher than ever. From Soviet atheism, Russia has built a new system, one that offers the illusion of religious freedom while demanding total submission. Restored cathedrals and televised rituals create a facade of spiritual revival, but faith survives only when it serves the state. The Orthodox Church, once persecuted, is now the regime's chief enabler, trading its prophetic voice for privilege. Church leaders bless wars, sanctify authoritarianism, and echo state propaganda. Religion is used to define the Russian world and justify imperial ambitions. For those outside the state-sanctioned consensus, Protestants, Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, independent Muslims, there is no real freedom. They are branded as extremists or foreign agents, their existence a challenge to the Kremlin's monolithic identity. Laws, bureaucracy, and police raids keep them in check. The tragedy: the state has hollowed out faith, replacing the divine with the political. Religion is now a test of loyalty, not a path to truth. The system Stalin built, a church on a leash, has been perfected. In Russia today, the cage is gilded, but the freedom is an illusion.